there's a quiet ache that follows you. You might not even notice it anymore. It's that heaviness in your chest when you wake up, that strange silence that fills the room when everyone's gone. It's the pain you keep busy to escape, the one you say you've moved on from. But deep down, you know it's still there. What if I told you that the pain you keep running from isn't your enemy? What if it's the doorway to everything you've been searching for: peace, clarity, freedom, love that actually feels safe? You see, pain has a strange way of disguising itself. It hides beneath your habits, your perfectionism, your need to be chosen. It's the reason you keep forgiving people who never change. The reason silence feels safer than honesty. The reason your smile sometimes hurts. But here's the thing: what Carl Jung meant when he said, "The pain you avoid is the key to your freedom," wasn't some poetic comfort. It was a truth so piercing that it demands courage. Because freedom doesn't come from escaping what hurts, it comes from walking straight into it. And I know that sounds terrifying, because you've built a life around not falling apart again. You've survived. You've learned to smile while breaking, to give while empty, to look fine while slowly fading inside. You don't need another lecture. You don't need theories. You need to be reminded that you're not crazy for feeling too much. You're not weak for being tired. You're just someone who's been carrying more than their share. In this video, we're going to walk together into that space you've been avoiding, the place inside you that still hurts. Not to relive it, but to release it. You'll begin to see that your pain isn't a punishment. It's a guide. It's been trying to tell you something all along, something you were never taught to listen to. So take a deep breath. Let's go slow. You don't have to understand everything right now. You just have to be willing to stay with yourself even when it's uncomfortable. And if you're someone who's tired of pretending, tired of chasing, tired of holding it all in, then stay here with me. Because what's coming next might just help you remember who you really are beneath the wounds. If this resonates, if you've ever felt unseen, subscribe, share this with someone who might need it, and let's keep growing together. You've probably spent years mastering the art of appearing okay. You've learned how to make pain look presentable, how to turn heartbreak into humor, how to bury disappointment beneath responsibility. You became the strong one, the reliable one, the one who never falls apart. But strength, the kind that comes from suppression, always carries a quiet cost. Every time you swallow your truth, a part of you disappears. Every time you force a smile to make someone else comfortable, something in you goes numb. And the numbness, it feels safe, doesn't it? It feels like control. But over time, it starts to hollow you out from the inside. The pain you avoid doesn't just vanish. It waits. It hides in small reactions, like the way you flinch when someone raises their voice, even if they're not angry. The way you overthink a simple text, because deep down you're afraid of being ignored again. The way you stay too long in places that don't love you back, because leaving feels like another failure. You've mistaken self-abandonment for peace. You've confused silence for safety. But what if peace isn't the absence of pain? What if it's the presence of truth? The truth that your tears aren't weakness, they're wisdom. That your anger isn't ugly, it's a boundary begging to be heard. That the ache in your chest isn't brokenness, it's your soul calling you home. Freedom begins when you stop apologizing for your sensitivity. When you stop trying to fix the parts of you that were never broken, just neglected. You see, the world taught you that being strong means being unaffected. But maybe real strength is learning to feel without being destroyed by what you feel. When Jung said the pain you avoid is the key, he meant that inside every hurt lies a lesson waiting to be lived. The wound you carry isn't there to punish you, it's there to open you. To make you softer, wiser, more awake. But you can't open a door you keep walking past. And you can't heal what you refuse to face. So let's go deeper. Think about the one memory that still grips your heart, the one you never talk about, the one that shaped how you love, how you trust, how you breathe. Don't look away from it this time. Just breathe into it, no judgment, no resistance. Because when you finally stop running, something shifts. You realize the pain was never trying to break you. It was trying to show you what needed love. Maybe it began long before you could name it, before you even had words. That moment when love felt uncertain, when safety depended on your silence, you learned that to be loved, you had to be good. To be good, you had to be quiet. And so you began the lifelong performance of becoming who others needed you to be. You smiled when you were sad. You agreed when your heart screamed no. You learned to disappear inside your own skin just to belong, and the world praised you for it, called you kind, selfless, understanding. But deep down, every compliment felt like a reminder that no one really saw you. They only saw the version of you that kept their world intact. And this is where most people spend their lives, trapped between the person they are and the person they were taught to be. That's the hidden war inside so many hearts. You can feel it, can't you? The quiet exhaustion of carrying two selves, the one that pleases and the one that aches to be free. Sometimes the pain you avoid isn't loud or obvious. Sometimes it's disguised as overachievement, perfection, caretaking. You stay busy to keep from feeling. You fix others to avoid your own cracks. You love deeply, but always with the secret hope that someone will finally notice your wounds without you having to show them. But here's the truth you've been afraid to believe. The person you are beneath all that effort, the one who's messy, emotional, complicated, that's the one who's worthy of love. Not the edited version, not the polite one, the real one. Pain invites you to return to that person. It says, you don't have to pretend anymore. It's not a threat, it's a calling. The ache in your chest is not proof of failure, it's proof that your heart is still alive, still reaching, still wanting more than survival. And when you start listening to it, life begins to shift in subtle ways. You stop chasing validation and start craving honesty. You stop asking, what do they think of me? And start wondering, what do I think of myself? Healing doesn't mean erasing your past. It means making peace with it. It means being able to sit with what once shattered you and whisper, I survived and I'm still here. So if you've been hiding behind strength, maybe tonight you can let that armor fall. Even just a little. You don't have to heal in one day. You just have to stop pretending you're not hurt. Because sometimes, the most courageous thing you'll ever do is tell the truth about your pain. There's a moment that happens when you finally stop running. It's quiet, almost sacred. It's not dramatic like in the movies, no thunder, no tears streaming down in slow motion. It's just you, sitting in the stillness, realizing that you've been fighting yourself for years. You look around at your life, the jobs, the relationships, the promises you've made, and you start to see how many of them were born from fear. Fear of being alone, fear of being unwanted, fear of becoming invisible. And when you see it clearly, it's almost unbearable, because you realize how much of your life wasn't chosen, but copied from old patterns, old wounds, old ghosts. But here's the beautiful thing about awareness. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you understand that your pain has been shaping your choices, you start to reclaim your power. You begin to ask different questions, not, why did this happen to me? But, what is this trying to teach me? That's where freedom begins, not in forgetting, but in understanding. Not in closing the wound, but in listening to it. Maybe your pain is showing you where you've been abandoning yourself. Maybe it's asking you to stop giving love that hurts and start giving love that heals. Maybe it's reminding you that the things you call mistakes were just attempts to feel safe in a world that once made you feel small. And that changes everything. Because you stop looking for saviors, you stop waiting for apologies, you stop needing closure from people who were never capable of giving it. You begin to forgive not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. You begin to let go not because the pain disappears, but because you no longer want to carry what isn't yours. There's a soft kind of strength that comes from this. The kind that doesn't need to prove anything. The kind that simply says, I've met my pain and I'm still standing. And when you reach that point, something inside you shifts. You start noticing beauty again, the way sunlight touches your skin, the sound of rain against the window, the quiet warmth of being alive. You start feeling gratitude, not for what happened, but for who you became through it. The pain didn't destroy you, it revealed you. It peeled back the layers until only truth remained. And that truth, though raw, is real. Stay here with me. We're not done yet. Because the deeper we go, the closer we get to something sacred, something that will change how you see yourself forever. There comes a time when you realize the pain wasn't the villain, it was the mirror. Every heartbreak, every rejection, every betrayal, it all reflected something you needed to see about yourself. Not because you were broken, but because you were blind to your own worth. Think about it. The people who hurt you most, they didn't just take from you. They revealed where you still felt unworthy of love. You stayed because some part of you believed you had to earn affection. You forgave because you thought love meant enduring. You kept trying because you didn't know you could leave without being the villain. But pain, the kind that carves deep, has a strange mercy in it. It strips away illusion. It forces you to see who you became while surviving. And maybe, for the first time, you start to grieve not just the people who left, but the versions of yourself you had to become to be loved by them. Grieving is sacred. It's how the heart cleanses itself. You might cry, not because you're weak, but because your body finally feels safe enough to release. You might feel angry, not because you hate them, but because you're finally choosing yourself. You might feel lost for a while, that's okay too. Transformation always feels like chaos before it feels like peace. You're learning that freedom isn't found in perfection. It's found in permission, the permission to feel, to want, to rest, to start again. The world may never teach you how to hold your own pain gently, but you can learn. You can start by sitting with it like you would a frightened child. No fixing, no rushing, just presence. That's what heals the presence you were always craving from others, given now by you. And slowly, the energy you once poured into avoiding pain begins to flow toward living. You start creating instead of coping. You start connecting instead of performing. You begin to taste moments again, coffee that feels like comfort, laughter that doesn't hide sorrow, silence that no longer scares you. That's what freedom feels like, not an escape from feeling, but an intimacy with life itself. When Jung said the key to freedom lies in pain, he wasn't offering a philosophy. He was describing a doorway, one you walk through only when you've grown tired of pretending. And once you step through it, there's no going back. Because what's on the other side isn't more strength, it's softness. Not control, but surrender. Not certainty, but truth. You'll look at your scars one day and smile, not because they're gone, but because you finally know what they mean. You begin to realize that healing isn't about erasing what happened. It's about rewriting your relationship with it. The same memories that once shattered, you start to soften. They don't disappear, but they lose their power to control you. You can remember without flinching. You can speak your truth without trembling. That's when you know something profound has shifted. The pain no longer defines you, it informs you. You start to see the pattern of it all, how every heartbreak wasn't random, but a reflection of an inner echo, something inside you still believing you weren't enough. That's why you chased people who withheld affection, why you confused effort with love, why you mistook chaos for chemistry. Each person, each moment was holding up a mirror, whispering, "Look here. This is where you're still bleeding." But now you see. And once you see, you can't go back to pretending. You start choosing differently. You set boundaries not to punish others, but to protect your peace. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop auditioning for love that asks you to shrink. That's the quiet revolution of healing. It's not loud or dramatic. It's 1,000 tiny moments of coming home to yourself. It's saying no when your body tenses. It's resting without guilt. It's letting go of people who love your potential but can't hold your truth. At first, it feels lonely. You'll wonder if peace is worth the solitude. But then something miraculous happens. You begin to meet yourself. Not the self shaped by pain, but the one that was buried beneath it. The self that still believes in softness, in laughter, in beginnings. You start laughing again, but this time it's real. You start trusting again, but this time it's earned. You start loving again, but this time it includes you. And the world starts to look different. Colors feel warmer. Time feels slower. You find beauty in imperfection, grace in your scars. You no longer need life to be perfect. You just want it to be real. That's what freedom truly is. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of authenticity. You no longer run from your shadows, you dance with them. You no longer silence your fear, you listen to it with compassion. You no longer see your wounds as flaws. They've become the map that led you here. And as you breathe in that truth, something inside you whispers, "This is what I was always looking for." There's a lightness that comes when you finally stop hiding from yourself. Not the kind of light that blinds, but the kind that warms the quiet glow of self-acceptance. You begin to understand that healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. You start to notice that life doesn't demand perfection from you. The sun rises whether you're thriving or barely holding on. The moon still waits for you, even on nights you can't sleep. Nature doesn't rush, yet everything gets done. And you start realizing maybe you don't have to rush your healing either. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to be better by next week. You just need to be honest with yourself, with your feelings, with your story. Because every time you tell yourself the truth, you peel away another layer of the pain's power. You may look back and grieve all the years you spent trying to be who you thought they wanted. But even that grief is sacred. Because grief means you've finally stopped running. It means you've chosen truth over illusion. And truth, even when it hurts, always leads home. You start living differently. You start listening more to your body, to your heart, to the quiet spaces that don't demand words. You learn to rest without explaining, to say no without guilt, to walk away from what feels wrong, even if it's familiar. And somewhere in the middle of all this, you begin to forgive yourself for the times you stayed too long, for the times you didn't speak up, for the times you thought love meant sacrificing your peace. You realize you were doing your best with the tools you had, and that realization, it softens everything. One day, you wake up and realize the pain that once consumed you has become a teacher. It taught you where your boundaries are. It taught you what love isn't. It taught you what you truly need. That's when you understand Jung's words, not just as wisdom, but as lived truth. The pain you avoided wasn't a curse. It was the key that unlocked your heart. It was the force that pulled you back into yourself again and again until you remembered that freedom was never out there. It was always within you. You are no longer chasing peace. You are peace, not because everything is perfect, but because you've made peace with imperfection. And that is the quiet, radiant power of becoming whole. There's something sacred that happens once you stop searching for yourself in other people. You begin to meet the version of you that's been waiting all along, the one who doesn't need to prove their worth, who doesn't beg to be understood, who no longer feels small in their own presence. This version of you doesn't chase. They attract through stillness. They don't plead for love. They embody it. They don't perform strength. They live gently, and that gentleness is power. You begin to notice that life responds differently when you live from wholeness instead of from the wound. The relationships you attract start feeling lighter. The conversations deepen. You find yourself drawn to people who speak the language of honesty, those who don't flinch when you tell your truth, those who see your softness not as weakness, but as beauty. That's when you understand. Healing isn't the end of pain. It's the beginning of intimacy. Intimacy with yourself, with others, with life. Because when you stop fearing your emotions, you stop fearing connection. You learn to sit with discomfort instead of escaping it. You learn to love people without losing yourself in them. And this new kind of love, it's different. It doesn't demand you to shrink. It doesn't punish your emotions. It meets you where you are. It flows, it breathes, it grows. It doesn't feel like a storm. It feels like coming home. You start realizing that your boundaries aren't walls, they're doors. They protect your peace, yes, but they also make room for the right people to enter. You no longer choose based on chemistry alone. You choose based on calm. You stop romanticizing chaos and start valuing consistency. You stop confusing intensity for love and start recognizing that real love is quiet, safe, and deeply grounding. This is what it means to be free, to love without fear, to feel without shame, to live without hiding. And sometimes, when the world goes quiet, you'll catch yourself smiling for no reason. Not because everything is perfect, but because, for the first time, you feel present. You're not reliving the past or rehearsing the future. You're here, in your body, in your truth, in your life. You'll realize that the journey was never about fixing yourself. It was about remembering that you were never broken, that you were always enough, even when you forgot. So breathe. You've made it through the hardest part, the part where you had to face yourself. Now comes the part where you get to live as who you truly are. And now, as you stand here still, breathing, whole, you can feel it, that quiet hum beneath the noise of life, the one that says, you're free now. Not because the pain has vanished, but because it no longer controls you. It still visits sometimes, like an old friend reminding you how far you've come. But now, when it arrives, you don't run. You invite it in, you pour a cup of tea for it, you listen, then you let it go. You've learned that healing isn't a straight line. Some days you rise with sunlight in your chest. Other days the shadows come back to test your strength. But even on those days, you no longer mistake darkness for failure. You understand now it's just another layer asking for compassion, another part of you wanting to be seen. You've built something sacred inside yourself, safety. And that's what freedom truly is. Not perfection, not endless happiness, safety. The kind that lets you breathe deeply in your own company. The kind that whispers, no matter what happens, I've got me. You begin to dream differently. Your dreams are no longer fueled by the need to prove your worth. They come from peace, from curiosity, from joy. You no longer chase people who don't choose you because you've learned to choose yourself first. You no longer force doors to open because you trust what's meant for you will always find its way. And maybe that's what Jung meant all along, that the key to freedom isn't found in escaping pain, but in surrendering to its message. Because when you face the wound, when you sit inside it long enough, you discover something sacred hiding underneath. Love. The kind that doesn't depend on anyone else. The kind that's been waiting inside you all along. So when people ask you how you healed, you won't give them a list of steps. You'll just smile softly and say, I stopped running from myself. And that's what I want for you to stop running, to meet your pain, not as an enemy, but as a guide, to let it soften you, not harden you, to remember that freedom doesn't mean you'll never hurt again. It means you'll never abandon yourself again. If you felt something stir inside you tonight, if your heart whispered yes to even one line, honor that. Let it guide you. And if you found comfort here, share it. Someone out there is still running from themselves, still believing they're too broken to heal. Maybe your courage will be the light that helps them stop. Thank you for listening, for feeling, for staying. You are not alone. You never were. If this journey touched you, take a moment to breathe, to reflect, to subscribe so we can keep walking this road together, one truth at a time. Because remember, sometimes the pain you avoid is not your ending, it's your beginning.